Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, Swampy.
Hello.
Welcome, Danny.
How's everybody doing?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first ever
I'm gonna roll up
neighborly.
here on the top of the chat.
How are we all doing
Pepland Creek,
tonight?
welcome. Mary Page.
Hey, Peplin, Bold Mama, Geek Boy, Kevin, Fish
Welcome,
Tank
everybody.
Dicks.
So, tonight, as our guest for our first ever show, we have Danny Wesche with us. Danny, welcome. Thank you for being our first ever guest.
Oh, thank you for
We
having
appreciate
me.
having
I'm
you.
I'm honored.
So, why don't we just jump right in and I will ask the toughest question ever. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, okay. I grew up in a family of 7 people total. My parents and 5 kids. I'm the fourth of 5. I have 3
Mm-hmm.
older sisters and a younger brother, and my younger brother is super into fish too.
Oh, that's
Oh, hey
cool.
there, Roman, Knowledge Nebula. How's it going? Um, okay, so I was homeschooled until I was in 7th grade. My mom stopped homeschooling my older sisters a little bit earlier than me and my brother, and I didn't really like going to real school. I would have preferred to stay homeschooled. But we did like a lot of gardening and stuff growing up because we had a decent amount of space to do it. Never had a dog. Always wanted a dog. I don't know. I'm not very good at talking about myself in this sort of way.
Well, that was pretty decent essay. Okay. You said you always wanted a dog. If you could have a dog, what kind of dog would you like?
Okay. Well, when I was younger and even into like my young adult life, I always wanted a big dog, like a German Shepherd or something like that. But now that I've gotten older, the whole big dog thing doesn't really seem much like I could really handle it because I'm super laid back and big dogs and high energy and all that. I'd probably want like a small dog like a Shih Tzu now if I was gonna get a dog.
It's funny how things change like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Welcome, Darlene. Okay. And how long have you been keeping fish for?
Well, we kept fish as a family when we were younger and stuff. We always had a 29-gallon community tank, and we did like live bearers and tetras and stuff like that. So we had swordtails and platies and mollies and guppies and did the whole thing of, breeding live bearers. It was pretty cool. And the very first fish that I ever picked out was a red-tailed shark, and I called him Batman, and we had him for probably a couple years. I think he got up to like maybe like 3.5 inches long or so. He didn't get super
Okay.
big in that 29-gallon tank. And I always remember like I wanted to get like cichlids and things like that. And it was like, nope, nope, don't even look at the fish down there. Always look right here at the live bearers and stuff.
Your first
And then
ever
I
community tank.
and then like as an adult I was in the army and stuff, and I was renting and different things like that, so I didn't really keep fish for a good while in my adult life because I didn't want to set up something that was a little bit more permanent. I wasn't really thinking about moving fish tanks or anything like that, so I've only been keeping fish as an adult for the last like year and a half, almost 2 years now, and I've been like super hardcore into it for like the last year.
That's really cool. And thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you for your support.
Hello, S. Welcome. Okay. Now I was catching up on your videos earlier,
Yeah.
and I am in love with your beta sorority. Do you mind telling us your stocking of your beta sorority tank?
Well, I've gone through a couple different things with the stocking because I've lost some fish over time. It's kind of tough keeping a better sorority and then like being kind of newer to the fish keeping and stuff again because stuff has kind of changed now from when I was a kid. I've lost some fish, but currently what's in there is 4 female betta, 2 Siamese algae eaters, the flying fox, a longfin calico bristlenose pleco, um, 2 Von Rio flame tetras. I used to have a school of like 8 of those. And what else is in? I think a honey gourami, and I think that's it. Yeah.
That is very cool, and they all do very well together.
For the most part, yeah. I had some guppies in there, and the guppies didn't do so well, especially when they tried to like give birth. That's when they really got attacked by the
Oh,
betta. So don't keep guppies with your betta.
oh
Hello,
goodness.
Muppet.
Good to know.
Hello, Scots.
Welcome, Scotts. Welcome, Muppet. Thank you, guys. Rico Stan, hello. Thank you for coming in, guys. Okay, now your opinion on snails. Are they friend or foe in your aquarium, and why?
Okay. When I was younger, they were foe because we only had fake plants and fake decorations and stuff like that. And so anytime we saw a tiny snail, it was like the end of the world. But now that I'm adult, I love snails. I have them in every single one of my tanks except for the new tank that I just set up. And I don't know. I got a pretty decent relationship with the snails. I love them. I prefer the pond snails or the bladder snails, I guess is what they're called, over the ram's horns personally, because I think the ram's horns get a little bit bigger, and the pond snails, it's a little bit easier for me to maintain their population. But then I also have a couple mystery snails, and I have some nerite snails that I was trying to breed, and I don't run my salinity high enough in my brackish tank for the eggs to actually hatch, so unsuccessful with that.
Yeah, in my tanks, I have a lot of pond and bladder and ram's horns, the blue ram's horns. I call
Oh,
them my little
nice.
blueberries because they're all over the place. And neorites and mysteries. Like, I'm probably a little more obsessed with snails than I should be, but I am a very big friend of snails. So it's happy to
Yeah.
hear that you are as well.
Yeah. I think
um,
I saw on Chattanooga Ed had like a new type of snail that I had never seen before called like a lava snail or like a devil's horn snail or something like that. It was
the
like super pointy and sharp, and
the
I don't know,
black
I've
devil
been
snail, I believe.
yeah, I think that's what it's
Hmm.
called, the black devil snail. And I don't know, I've been like trying to find more cool snails now. I had no idea there was so many different snails.
There really are. There's just so many. It's hard to choose, especially like you're not supposed to have so many in an aquarium, but it's hard not to. It's just like fish.
Yeah.
Welcome, Chewy. Thank you for coming in. Now, I wanted to ask you about your favorite types of plants, specifically your favorite floater, your favorite epiphytic plant, your favorite substrate plant.
Okay. Well, I have a bunch of Amazon frog bit, but I don't really much care for it a whole lot. It was nice at first, but it kind of took over some of my smaller tanks, and then
Yeah.
when you have like high flow, it doesn't work very well either because it kind of flips over and stuff.
Hmm.
But I think my favorite floating plant that I have yet to actually get my hands on would be red root floaters. I really want to get those. I like plants that have like red and different sort of colorations. Though I do love green plants, but you see green all the time.
Yeah.
And then let's see, my favorite epiphytic plant would probably be
Hello, Tundra.
mosses. Like I really like the
Mosses.
mosses. Uh, I haven't gotten my hands on enough mosses yet. I have a whole bunch of Java fern and like I have some trident fern and stuff, and I do like the fern plants and stuff, but
Mm.
mosses are really cool and they have such great textures, and there's so many different mosses out there too. So I really want to get my hand on more mosses.
I
And
agree. I'm a
then
big fan of moss as well.
substrate plants, the red tiger lotus or the dwarf aquarium. I like the lilies and the lotuses. Because if you give
They're
those
very
bright lights, you
nice.
can get some really nice reds, and the tiger lotus too. Like you get like red and purples and lots of really cool spottings and colors on them, and you can trim them down to get a whole bunch of like clumped up, like tight leaves, or you can have them go up to the top and give lily pads and stuff too. So I like them.
Very cool. I'm a fan of redwood floaters as well. Currently, I have frog bit, and I'm also going through the same issue where it's taking over all my tanks and building mats, and I'm always scooping it out, and it's really, really good at holding that invasive duckweed. So typically, if you have frog bit, you also have duckweed, and
Yep.
yeah, some of my tanks end up looking pretty swampy. Now, how many fish tanks do you have currently?
Currently, I have 14 fish tanks. I also have a small indoor pond, and I have I guess in retrospect, a small outdoor pond as well.
Very cool. Now, do you keep just fresh water? Or you also doing salt?
I keep just fresh water, and I have one brackish tank. I am interested in getting into salt, though it's only because I really want a cuttlefish. That's been like my favorite fish my entire life. And on TV, they always made them look so big. But then when I saw one in person, I've realized that they're not very big at all. And so you can keep one in I think I heard you could keep them in like a 20 long, but I'd probably want to put them in like a 40 breeder or something and give them a decent amount of space.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of understocking a tank.
Right.
Um,
Yes, Roman, I added a lot more tanks to the house after you left, especially.
Hello, Diego. Welcome. Okay. What
Diego.
is your favorite fish?
Well, I already kind of mentioned that. My favorite fish is a cuttlefish, but the favorite fish that I have currently is a betta fish. I have 8 of those, and I love them.
And what is your least favorite fish?
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't I don't really think there's a fish that I like don't necessarily like. Like I'm not a huge fan of rainbow fish mainly. Like
Mhm.
I don't dislike them. I just think they're kind of shaped a little weird when they're like super round and then they have that weird little bitty head.
I've seen the flamboyant cuttlefish. They are adorable.
Yeah.
They
I
are.
need a cuttlefish in my life.
Mhm. And your take, since you work in the fish business, you do work at a fish store, correct?
A pet store. We sell a lot more than just fish, but when it comes to what we sell the most of, we definitely sell a whole lot more fish than anything else.
Um, do you believe that there are any fish that should not be in the hobby?
I mean, selling at normal box stores and stuff, I don't think they should have like, you know, arapaima and some like invasive fish and things like that. But on the other hand, if you're gonna give it the right sort of care, I don't really think there's anything wrong with having any fish that you want. If you have a 5,000-gallon pond, get yourself an arapaima. Why not?
So as long you advocate, as long as there's space, then
Right? As
and they're
long
not
as you're good,
invasive.
as long as you're willing to do it right and you're gonna, put the work into it and take care of that fish and give it the best sort of life you can, then why not? I don't see
Because
anything wrong with that.
it seems where some place where we fall in the hobby, especially when there's people that aren't as experienced as some of us hobbyists, they go into a pet store and they see a 2-inch pacu and they don't realize that that animal gets massive and they bring it home and it's a tank buster in 4 months and then they don't know what to do
Well,
with that poor little baby.
Well, right, and that's exactly what I mean about some of these fish should not be just sold at these everyday box stores with inexperienced people, just selling fish and all that. But as far as getting them completely out of the hobby, like there are people that are going to give them the right sort of life and do really like those fish for what they are. I'd love to have an
Yes.
arowana, but I'm also, fully aware that I can't afford to feed that guy when he gets bigger, at least not with my current income. Like eating like a whole bag of frozen shrimp a week at least or something like that. They eat a lot.
Yeah, they have high color demands. They're beautiful, beautiful fish, arowana. Um, what is your favorite type of aquarium hardscape? Figure I'd give you an easier one.
I like the jungle style tanks, the ones that just like have driftwood and rock and just so many plants that it's just taking over the tank, and just it looks more natural that way to me. And anything that can look more like a replication of nature, or like you just cut out a part of a river or something like that, I just love that.
I love that as well. But as far as your hardscape, is there any preferred type of driftwood you like to use or preferred stone?
um I don't think I've really experienced enough different types to give a good answer on that. I've used like spider wood and pretty much what you can buy at any of your local like box stores and stuff like that, like the Malaysian driftwood and stuff. And I think I mostly prefer the spider wood, at least so far, because it has all these different sorts of winding stuff, and you can make like roots or you can make trees. Like you can do a lot of different sort of stuff with the spider wood.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely like the wild look of it. Um, and I
And then I
noticed in
really
your
like
videos,
lava stone. I've used a lot of lava rock.
I was just gonna say, I noticed in your videos that you really like lava rock. Would you like to say like
Sorry,
Yeah.
how you?
I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to let Foxy get her questions out because I know she's got quite a few questions. So I don't want anybody
Yeah.
to think I'm just being rude and just sitting here. Trying
And
to
don't
let
worry,
Foxy get her
guys. Like
questions out.
the stream is going to carry over into Swampy's channel, and if we don't get through all of, you know, Foxy's questions super fast, we're going to do, his questions in his stream. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm not running over Swampy. I promise.
Yeah, somebody said, "Are you going to say anything?" They messaged me. They were like, "Are you going to say anything?" I just didn't want
I
to be
mean,
rude.
you have been like incredibly silent for the last like 15 minutes. So
I know I'm just patient. Just patient. Any questions that I have
Stoic.
on my list and she's asking, I'm just crossing off.
Welcome, Adele. Welcome, my fish tanks. Welcome, Greg. Thank you all for coming in. Okay, now where were we? The hardscape.
I'll be
Now,
right back. I'm going to grab a drink.
Okay.
all
You
right.
said that you prefer to use lava stone in a lot of your escapes. Is there a reason for that? Like, why do you prefer that?
Because it's super lightweight, it's super porous, so it can hold a lot of beneficial bacteria and all that. And then it's easy to break apart, and you can even use it at like the small pieces as like filter media for biological filtration and stuff like that. So it's just such a versatile stone. and it can come in like different colors and stuff too, to where like it has so many uses. Why it's a great stone.
Putting chips in the filter. That's a good tip. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, like instead of those expensive like biomedia clay rings and stuff like that,
Yeah.
just get a lava stone and crunch it up into a bunch of small pieces and put it in your filter, or like put it in a piece of pantyhose or whatever to make like a little like bag of it and throw that in your filter.
Good idea. Now, seeing that you work at a pet store, I'm sure you've had run into some comical situations.
Oh,
Do you have a
definitely.
funny story that you could offer us? Tales of the Pet Store employee.
Um, like a funny story. Oh, nothing's really popping in my head right now. If I think of something later, I'll get back to you.
Okay. And I saw that you do have your little kitty up on camera.
Yeah.
I heard in one of your videos her name is Tundra,
Yes.
and she's often your background music.
Oh, yeah. It can be a little frustrating sometimes trying to take a video, and all of a sudden she just comes in as
She definitely loves her dad.
Well,
yeah.
I did a chicken coop video and I had a cat photo like bomb my video the whole time. So I know the feeling.
Now you keep fish and you have a cat. Are there any other
Mm.
pets that you keep?
I also have a green bottle blue tarantula, Chromatopelma cyanopubescens.
Cool. I'm not a fan of spiders.
Most people aren't, and I didn't used to be, but I mean, I dated a girl that was really into spiders, and then I kind of just grew more knowledge about them and realized that a lot of the fears that people have are like illogical fears. Like they don't really make sense when you learn about what, you know, spiders are really like and their mentality and why they do what they do.
Well, so why are you drawn to them now where you weren't before?
Well, because they actually are really beneficial for our ecosystems. They catch a lot of, you know, mosquitoes and the annoying bugs that everybody hates, and then they're also like cannibalistic and stuff too, where, you know, some spiders even will eat the other spiders that you don't like too, and they can protect your garden and stuff from little prey, you know, insects and things like that. And you know, tarantulas to me are just like eight-legged cats. They're just fuzzy and cute. And I really want to get a Colombian lesser black tarantula and put it in a paludarium with a humming toad is what they're called. They live in a mutualistic relationship where the frog basically eats the ants and the little micro creatures that would affect the tarantula's eggs, and the tarantula eats like the bigger insects and things like that that would affect the humming toad's eggs.
I think I've actually seen that very recently in a documentary. Because as you're saying, and I was like, I'm visualizing, and I'm like, I've seen that. I thought that was
Right.
really cool. Really
So I want to
cool.
build a whole paludarium setup for the frog and the tarantula, maybe have a few little fish in the water feature, and I don't know.
That's really cool. Now, how long does your spider, like your specific tarantula, because I'm sure it ranges, how long does yours live for?
I think they live between like 10 to 15 years.
Oh wow. So that's like a cat. You're not
Yeah.
lying.
No.
Wow.
No, they live a good while, and when they're younger, they molt a whole lot more, so they grow faster. But then as they get older, their molting slows down to like, once every 6 months to like once every year to even like one time every like year and a half or more.
Well, they molt as they grow, just like crustaceans, correct?
Correct, yeah. And I made a video a while ago of one of my tarantulas molting, but I lost that when I deleted all my Facebook and everything like that a while ago. I thought I had saved all my stuff on my computer, but then when I ran out of cloud storage, I guess I ended up actually deleting it from my computer, not just the cloud.
Yeah, that happens. I've done that a couple of times with a couple of my videos. Let
Yep.
me catch up with the people who have come in. Jeffrey Watts, hello. Paul C, Susan SLC, welcome guys. Monster Fish Gal, Old Mama's been here. Thank you for modding. Geek Boy, sorry. Peplin, hello. You've been here. I'm sorry. Craig, hello, Craig. Patty, I love me some Patty. My fish tanks
aquatics. Have a good night.
Thank you for stopping in, hanging out with us for a little while. Okay.
So, Foxie, how many more questions do you have?
I have 3 more.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you knocked 4 or 5 off my list, and I had 15, so I got about 10.
Excellent.
So I was going to ask, being a fish keeper, what is your quarantine process for new fish?
Honestly, I don't normally really quarantine my fish, but I have a pretty decent selection process, and I always visually like buy my fish. Like I've never ordered fish online yet. So especially like working in the pet store, like the pet store is kind of my quarantine system. I can put the fish in there, see how they're doing for a week or two, and then buy them and throw them in my tank, and they're fine. But now I do have like a little quarantine tank, but I have like 5 little baby convict cichlids in there. So there's some fish that I definitely can't really quarantine in there. There's other fish that I can for a period of time because I sadly don't really care much about the convicts. I only have them because they were free from the pet store. And I plan on having them kind of pair off and then using them as like breeding for live food for my African cichlids.
Okay. Hello, T-Bone. Welcome.
It's the circle of life.
It is. Unfortunately, it is. It's just
and
everything's got to eat.
They breed
right?
so easily, and they have babies that are really small, so you can use them as live food for almost anything.
Okay, so now when you come into, since your selection process is tedious and you don't quarantine, do you ever deal with illnesses in your aquariums?
I did a year ago. I haven't had any illnesses in a year, and I've had some issues with like aggression, but I haven't had any issues with like illnesses in the last year.
When you do have illnesses, what are your preferred medications or treatments?
I prefer to just use like salt and stress coat, try and do it the more natural way and just kind of help the fish like calm down and have its immune system act as naturally as possible. But I mean, if it starts to get like really bad, like a fungus or something like that, because fungus can take over really fast and just like it can like kill a fish overnight, even to where I've used antifungals before, and I've used General Cure, and I've used ICX, but now I have more knowledge about ick, to where I'm not going to use ICX ever again. Like I'm going to use salt and raise the temperature in my tank to 86 degrees for a couple days, and then the ick is gone. It's fine.
I find that the best method too. Most natural is best. And my final question is, who are your fishy idols, if you have any? Who do you look up to for inspiration?
My number one inspiration as far as YouTube channels and stuff go is MD Fish Tanks. I
He's
really like what
amazing.
he's doing. I think I kind of got started like being a crazy, like watching every day of YouTube on KG Tropicals.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like Father Fish as well. I've gotten super into like deep substrates and trying to do things the most natural way, and even doing like, naturescapes where you just grab driftwood and mud and different stuff from, nature around you and build a fish tank that way, and even using like native fish. Unfortunately, in like St. Louis, I don't really have a lot of native fish that I can really put in like a smaller tank or anything like that. But I am kind of interested in possibly like growing my own food with fish in the future. So maybe having like a bass pond or, something like that, because I really like bass.
That would be really cool. But that is all the questions that I have for you.
Okay.
Thank you for dealing with me for the first 31 minutes.
Oh, that's fun.
What's your dream tank?
Questions.
My dream tank? Oh, man. Right now, I really want like 180-gallon, like heavily planted tank with
That
just
would be nice.
like, I'm not sure. I don't think I really want to get like discus, but like maybe like angelfish, or like, I don't know, maybe have like a massive colony of like German rams, like try and get Dean's black German rams and get like breed a colony of those.
Everyone's after Dean's Rams.
Right.
What would
But
be
there
your
was a
bucket
question in the
list
chat.
of fish?
Cuttlefish. I've mentioned that a couple times, yeah.
Heard that one. Not just that one. Would there be any other ones?
Oh,
A bucket list.
okay, like a whole list.
Yes.
Yeah, so fish that I still, really want. I want to get some celestial pearl danios. I want to breed tomato haps, the Tanganykan cichlid. Or no, Victorian cichlid. Because Lake Victorian cichlids are such beautiful fish, and they're not really present enough in the aquarium hobby yet. Not a lot of people really pay that much attention to them. It's always about the Malawi cichlids, and the Tanganykan cichlids are becoming more popular too. And
What
I kind of want some.
Go ahead.
I kind of want some alien betta as well, but not like your standard like the blue ones. I want either like an incredibly green one, or I think I've even seen that there's red alien bettas, and that's what I really want.
Yeah, the alien bettas are stunning, and the green ones are. I agree. Like they're the top of the line for me as well.
And like I'd like some wild type betta too. I'm thinking about, since I have a little bit of experience with mouth brooding fish now, and I've even bred betta in the past without success on raising up the fry very well. I kind of want to get the I think it's the macrostoma. Yeah, the macrostoma. It's like the biggest betta that's out there, and it's a mouth brooder, a male mouth brooder.
The king betta?
No, not the king betta. No, yeah. So I have a king betta, and that's a type of like betta splendens that has like giganticism, I believe is what the disease is called. Well, it's disease. It's not like a
Yeah.
harmful thing necessarily, but yeah, it's what makes them big. And then, but no, the betta macrostoma it's a wild type betta, and it's a mouth brooder. They look really cool.
Chewy's chiming in. I always like to make sure everyone sees his knowledge. As you keep plants with fruit
Oh,
valley
that's
cichlids, but it
Chewy.
takes a few little tricks. Valsinaria works well.
Yeah, I
What kind
still
of
want to
what
get
kind
Vallisneria for my brackish tank.
I
uh,
love Vals.
what kind of brackish plants would you recommend for a beginner?
Well, the only one that I've had success with is Java Fern so far. Um, I tried Anacharis because that was one of the recommendations, but it just like melted away. I don't think Anacharis is as hardy of a plant as people tend to say it is because it's like
Mhm.
super thin, but it just grows really fast. So that's why everybody's all like, "Oh, it's a super hardy plant and grows like a weed." Um, I've tried Java Moss in there, not really any success. And I do have a couple mangroves that are, rooting in my brackish tank, and they grow really, really slow though. So if you're one of those people that, you need like quick, fast results or whatever, you're not really going to get that with mangroves. And then, yeah, I want to try Vallisneria and some other plants, but that's really all I've tried so far is just those 4 plants.
What's your thoughts on brackish water? Do you mix your salt with the? Do you find mixing the salt easier than buying instant ocean and mixing it with your water?
I've actually never bought the instant, like the already made ocean water and mixed it with my own water. I don't think mixing it is really that difficult, especially if you know what water volume you're using with your bucket for replacement. Because that's the way I do it. So I have a 4-gallon bucket, and the measurements are basically like per gallon with the salt. So it's pretty easy for me to just add like 3/4 worth of salt to my 4-gallon bucket, or 3/4 of a cup of salt into my 4-gallon bucket, and it makes the salinity right there at like 1.10.
And I want to say hello to Carver family. Thank you for coming in. And someone was heading out. I think it was Fish On. Thank you for stopping in. And Chewy with some more knowledge. Keep them in a tray and build up rocks around the plants that the fish cannot get into their mouths. A little gardening tray, since you need a deep substrate. Little planting trick for your tank.
Which substrate do you like the most and why?
See, I've tried gravel and sand and Eco Complete and that like clay pebble, shrimp substrate, and I've even done the dirted tank deep sand cap substrate, and so far that's my favorite is the deep sand substrate with the mud base. It's very easy to mess it up, but if you have a big enough sand cap, like it works really well, and you can get some really nice, plant growth without having to go high tech.
I agree. I find the deep sand substrate method is my favorite as well. But I don't use nearly as much potting soil as people say. Instead of using a whole inch, I use a 1/4 inch and then three
Yeah,
inches of sand on top of that because you have to remember that as the dirt's trying to work its way up, the detritus is going to try to work its way down. And if you add too much soil, it's going to clog up the sand quicker and then you'll just have to top off sooner.
yep. And so I know, like, yeah, Father Fish says, like, 1 inch of sand and a minimum of 2 inches. Or no, 1 inch dirt and a minimum of 2 inches of sand. And the way that it's worked best for me is like just putting enough dirt on the bottom of the tank to basically cover up all the glass so you can't see it anymore. And then just adding, you know, at least 2 inches of sand on top of that. And that works great. You get great plant growth. What's in Danny's brackish tank? That's a good question. Let me show you.
And then we have some more knowledge from Chewy. Oh, goodness. Can I pronounce that? The genus of Labotrophius? You cannot keep with plants unless you have big haps that tend to hang out in Vallisneria beds. Then it is an interesting biotope, but it takes a big tank.
So this is my brackish tank. And you can see the Java ferns doing pretty good. And the mangroves are kind of rooting in there. But as far as the top growth, like it still hasn't changed as far as anything on the top. But what's in there, I have some bumblebee gobies.
Very cute.
I love my bumblebee gobies. And then, like I said, I have nerite snails in there that I was trying to breed, but I don't run my salinity high enough. They pretty much need like almost marine water to actually have their eggs hatch.
Oh, wow. I've actually had their eggs hatch in my freshwater tank, but they don't make it past 3 months. I think that's some type of transition at that time where they just die off without salinity salt in the tank.
Yeah.
But I have really, really, really hard water out of tap here.
Yeah, and that's what Father Fish said too, is he's had the eggs hatch in his like super hard water before, but I have not had it happen, at least not that I've seen. Maybe it happened once or twice, because I have really hard water too. It comes out at like over 300 TDS out of the tap.
Oh man, I wish I had that.
Yeah, so then they should be hatching for you, because mine out of tap is at like 250.
I'm coming in. I'm coming there with a big tub, neighbor, and I'm stealing your water.
Feel free, neighbor. It's free.
I got some soft water if you'd like.
No, I'm good.
All right. Since you're showing tanks, I do have a question. How's your breeding coming along?
How's my breeding coming along? Well, here's spawn number 1. My very, very first spawn of African cichlids that I ever had. I've sold a couple to some like people in the area, and the sunshine peacock and that blue, a blue ailie or ollie aren't mine, but you know that's one of the really nice males. They are, you know, about 2.5, almost 3 inches now. But they're a little scared of me because I've, you know, sold a couple of their, you know, brothers and sisters. They used to not be scared of me at all, and not even scared of the net. I actually net trained them where they pretty much like go into the net. But once they realized that some of their people were going, or some of their buddies were going away and not coming back, now they're all scared.
I've often considered, do fish consider us aliens because we just go in and abduct them and they never see each other again?
Right.
Do they tell each other horror stories about the net that came from above?
Right. The claw.
Well, you said
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
You said you net train them. How's that process work?
Okay. So I basically, from a young age, like from when they're first like thrown out of their mother's mouth, like I just kind of keep a net in their tank. And I haven't actually been doing that with my other spawn. I need to throw the net back in there now. But I throw the net in the tank and just kind of keep it in there and just move the net around and catch the fish up and let them go and just kind of get them just used to the net's presence to where they just basically ignore it and don't even realize that it's there anymore. And it's worked for a while. I was able to, catch fish really easily at first, but it doesn't really work long term. But this here is the second spawn that I had. It wasn't as big as the first spawn because they were kind of chasing the mom around and eating some of the eggs as they were knocking them out of her mouth, because I wasn't really planning to have spawn number 2 quite so quick.
Yeah.
And then in this same tank, I also have, my newest mother that I didn't actually know was a female. Based off of her colors and stuff, I thought she was actually a male because she's got even a little bit of a point on her anal fin as well. But all of a sudden, I realized that she was mating with my OB again, and so I was like, well, okay, I guess I got to take you out. And she released, spawn number 3 in the same tank, and they're all doing fine together.
Oh,
I
so
haven't
you've
seen
lots
her
and lots of
predating on
babies.
any of them. I have probably about 100 baby cichlids of various sizes right now.
Oh, goodness. So you're
And,
well
Catching up
stocked.
to you.
In this same tank, there's a green phantom pleco that always hides, but I
Very
can
cool.
see him out and about sometimes.
Well, he thinks if he can't see you, you can't see him.
Right.
What kind of light cycle do you use for your plants?
I have my lights come on everything in my fish room. At least I have my lights come on at 9:30 in the morning, and they turn off at 7:30 at night. But now, because of daylight savings time, it's 10:30 and 8:30. So we're gonna be fine for me to show my tanks here, even into Swampy's stream.
What's the biggest piece of advice you have for beginners?
Patience. Don't try and stick your hands in there and just try and force anything to happen, or get fish too quick, or throw a bunch of fertilizers in there that you don't necessarily need. And just don't try and force things to happen, and just have patience and enjoy it, because just the more you try and influence something to happen, the more problems you're just going to cause, because nature needs to do it, not you.
Nature knows best.
Right.
How often do you test your water parameters and do water changes?
On a new tank, I will test the water a couple times, when I'm first setting it up, to see when the cycle is complete. But if I don't see any problems going on in my tank, I don't ever test my water. And as far as water changes go, I don't really have much of a schedule. I just kind of do water changes when I feel like my tank needs it. I mostly just top off. And if I start to see some like algae growth, or stuff that kind of looks like a nutritional imbalance or something like that, I'll do a good water change, and then even maybe add some fertilizers after the water change. Just kind of depends. I definitely add fertilizers into my Beta sorority tank over here.
That is beautiful. Looks like a happy little place.
How's your
What plants do you have in that
garden tank?
Not so good. This is what happens when you don't cap your sand properly. I've been adding more sand and stuff to it. I've lost most of my plants, and the water is actually clearing up a whole lot more now as I've been adding more sand to it. But I just need to take all the water out pretty much and just kind of salvage the plants that I can, add a whole lot more sand in there, and then just kind of fix it back up. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed with myself because I was really happy about it, and I even put my my pink flamingo crypt from the aquarium co-op in there, and it's completely destroyed now. And that was like my favorite plant that I got, and I only got it because I was like actually a member of Aquarium Co-op, and he did like a special thing for like members only where he told us that they were on sale online.
Well, maybe they'll come back around. That is a
Yeah, they'll
beautiful
come
plant
back
still.
around eventually.
Hello, Chalupa. Welcome. What types of plants do you have in this aquarium?
So there's the very obvious dwarf aquarium lily.
Mm-hmm.
There's Amazon frogbit on top, as well as a spider plant and a marble queen pothos. Let me I've never really shown this up close on camera, but you can kind of see I used those little like planter things that come with your aquatic plants, and I just kind of hang them on the side and just put some Leca balls in there, and it just grows hydroponically. But that one actually, I just kind of used the weight from my aquatic plant to just kind of attach it to the wood that's in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a big old Anubias plant up front and a bunch of dwarf sag, some small Anubias. I'm not really sure what that is. I think it might actually be a piece of that from another tank before I moved it into this tank. But it just kind of randomly popped up out of nowhere in the tank that it was in previously, and it's kind of stayed small. So I'm not too sure exactly what it is as far as Anubias goes. But I got some red undulata crypts. Some haven't been in the tank nearly as long, and so they still have that, greenish color, and they're pretty small.
Yeah.
It's more dwarf sag and stuff.
Crypts are definitely a weakness of mine.
Yeah, I love crypts. Red undulata crypts are my favorite too because they have some nice colors and stripes and different stuff, and they can grow in bright light, low light, whatever. And there's some water wisteria, I think Rotala green, some Ludwigia super red that isn't that super red because it's a low tech tank.
Mm-hmm.
There's some Nasea something or other that's like it almost looks like a yellow Rotala that has even more leaves than a Rotala, but it's not really popping up so well. Everything else is growing a whole lot faster than that. There's a small Java fern there in the middle of my tried to make a tree, and there's Bulbitis fern kind of on there that hasn't really been growing very fast at all or even very big. So my tree doesn't look super tree like yet. But I'm being patient. Exactly, patience. And I can't remember what that is called. It's some type of like spiral sword plant. But it's growing pretty well out of the back there.
That's a sword plant?
I think so.
That kind of looks like a Vallisneria.
Well, see, that's what I thought. I thought it was like spiral val or corkscrew val. I don't really know, but it's been shooting runners and stuff more like a sword plant. And I think it's a type of sword plant, but I don't know.
Because I know of the two types of Vallisneria that I have is the spiralis, which only grows about 12 inches, and then the contortion, which will grow much taller. And that looks like the contortion valve to me. That's what mine looks like in my tank.
Maybe. I just don't remember what I bought it as because I just saw it in a tank and I was like, I want that.
Either way, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we've lost Swampy. He must be going to set up his side now.
Oh yeah, like 5 minutes to him.
Yes. It's a beautiful betta. So
There's the
you
honey
source your bettas
gourami.
locally?
Yes. I like to rescue them from, Petco and then, my Pet Supplies Plus that I work at. That's where I got the glow betta from Petco and I got the other betta from my store.
There
Sorry
you
about
are.
that. My internet,
Okay.
just my shop router just went shut off. I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
So
Well,
I
we
had to
do only have about 5 more minutes until we switch over to your side.
I hear you. I just wanted to let you know I'm back, and I did have issues because I just looked at the router and it just went red, and I'm like, that's not supposed to do that.
No, that's the wrong color.
I know, right? It's supposed to be blue.
Those aren't autos. Those are the Siamese flying fox. They do kind of look like autos on camera, I guess.
Good.
There.
As Bold Mama comes running into the fish room. Thank you. Much
But
love.
that's really cool that you rescue the fishies locally, give them a good home.
Yep.
You do well.
I've actually bred her before.
She's gorgeous.
But like I said, I have not had success with actually raising the fry up. And I know it's a combination of both not doing enough water changes because of being nervous of sucking up those little bitty tiny guys.
I know, I
And
get
then
nervous about
also
that too.
overfeeding. I've lost several to, floating up and, swim bladder issues and then just, poor water conditions.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance with fry.
Yeah. And like betta, you have to feed them like vinegar eels or baby brine shrimp or just anything that's super duper tiny.
It's small enough for their mouth, but packs a big protein punch. And how long have you had this betta sorority set up for now?
This tank has been set up for I think a little bit over 7 months.
Okay.
But some of
It's
these fish actually came over from my previous betta sorority that I had in a 20 long. And the 20 long was working pretty good actually, but I wanted to give them a lot more space and so I could actually increase the size of my betta sorority as well. But having I have had up to 8 in here before and it just hasn't really worked that well. So I'm just keeping with the fish that I have. I don't really want to introduce any more in there right now.
Yeah, if it's harmonious at the moment, let the peace be. Chewy is saying in chat that small live food helps and small feedings are also important.
Exactly. But working a full-time job, it's hard to, feed them tiny meals 4 times a day versus just trying to give them a decent meal twice a day.
Where'd you get that piece of driftwood? Is that something bought or?
Yeah, I bought it at
collected?
Tropical World Pets here in St. Louis. And yeah, I saw it and I was just like, that looks like a tree. I'm gonna make a tree.
Okay, now
I
I'm
will
gonna
work
bring
for
us all.
driftwood.
Yeah, I love some good driftwood.
Okay, but we're fastly approaching the 9 o'clock hour, so
I'm gonna
I
go
wanna
and
take this time to say thank you, Danny, for coming up on my
Oh.
side of the stream. First, Aaron.
Yeah.
I want to thank all the moderators in chat and everyone in chat for being with us. And please follow us over to Swampy's side of the channel for the next hour. So with that, ready to switch, Swampy?
I'm live. Thank you.
See you guys there.
All
Hope
right.
to see you soon.
Be there soon, neighbor.
Uh,
Bye, guys.